let me say that again. It is possible for you to drink a cup of coffee in the morning, drink a cup of coffee in the evening, cycle this process morning and evening, and you are never without caffeine in your body. So I'm going to touch on a big one, and this one's caffeine. Caffeine is an extremely disruptive part of sleep. If you are someone that drinks a lot of caffeine, let's just go over some of the things as to how caffeine impacts your body. Even me reading this stuff, I read it, I'm like, oh, I get scared of like I should really change my sleep habits, and it's hard. So hopefully we spark some change in you. If we got to scare it into you a little bit, hopefully this information will help. Okay, so let's just try to put it in perspective here. So there are two aspects that impact sleep. We've got the circadian rhythm, and then we've got this thing called sleep pressure. So everybody has a 24-hour clock that goes throughout the day, and then this cycle starts, and all of a sudden these hormones start releasing and all of that, and it makes us feel, it starts setting these signals to the body. Hormones are released at different times, and all of a sudden with the circadian rhythm, we get to a certain time, all of a sudden melatonin will get produced. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's almost time for bed, and it starts hitting the switches, starts dimming the lights, and we start getting ready for bed. Our body temperature starts to drop a little bit, and that's the circadian rhythm. Now, that kind of gets the bed set. What really causes us to fall asleep is what's called sleep pressure. And what that is it's this hormone called adenosine, and it slowly builds up in our body. And the way that I like to think about it is I think about like slowly building up in the body, but actually the sleep pressure, this adenosine, fills up and starts pushing us down to bed. So circadian rhythm happens, hormones release, we're ready for bed, sleep pressure hits, puts us to bed, so it knocks us out. Now what caffeine does is caffeine actually takes hold of the receptors that the adenosine comes in on. So the adenosine is pressing down, then all of a sudden caffeine comes in, and we're sitting here like this, and the pressure's still there, but all of a sudden, whoop, whoop, we're back up. We aren't feeling the effects of adenosine. But the thing is that adenosine actually still continues to build. So as caffeine is being metabolized by our body, by our liver, this adenosine continues to build. And as it continues to build, we've got 2 periods of time that adenosine has been accumulating into our body. When the caffeine is done metabolizing, the adenosine then, that sleep pressure crushes our brain, starts to put us to sleep again. But what do most of us do? We go for that other cup of coffee. And then again, all of a sudden, we're up, that sleep pressure is there trying to slam us down, telling us we need to go to bed. Again, what do? We reach for that other cup of coffee. Let's put into perspective just how long caffeine stays in our body. So these statistics come from Why We Sleep, my favorite sleep book, Matthew Walker. If you like it, grab it, please give it a read. It will change the way that you look at sleep. So caffeine's peak performance in your body is 30 minutes after taking it. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 7 hours. So what a half-life is how long does it take to metabolize half of caffeine? If you were to have coffee at noon, 5 or 7 o'clock, you would still have half the amount of caffeine in your body as you did. You wouldn't have no caffeine, you would have half. Let's say that you have a cup of coffee at your evening dinner around 7:30. Ooh, he's crazy, he's drinking it at night. All right, 7:30. This means that by 1:30 a.m., 50% of that caffeine may still be active and circulating throughout your brain. In other words, by 1:30, you're only halfway to completing your job of cleansing your brain of the caffeine you drank at dinner. Okay, so now, what type of things actually contain caffeine to varying degrees? So we've got coffee is a big one, we know that. Certain teas, energy drinks. There's more energy drinks being drunk by young kids than I've ever thought imaginable. I mean, back in the day when I was growing up, I'd have a Mountain Dew and I'd feel all hyped up with caffeine, and then a Jolt was seen as, oh man, you would drink a Jolt? That's crazy. But yet these kids now are drinking Monster energy drinks, Red Bulls, and they've got no problem with it. Parents don't say a thing. It's super, super common for me to see a big Monster energy drink in the hand. So, weight loss pills and pain relievers all have caffeine in them. Get this, decaf coffee usually contains about 15 to 30% of the dose of regular coffee. That's still not none. If it takes 5 to 7 hours to metabolize 50% of it, that means it takes equally or almost equally as long to metabolize that 50% to that 50%. So it takes a long time to get caffeine entirely out of your system. Most of us don't even realize this, but if it takes 5 to 7 hours to metabolize 50% of the caffeine in your body, then it is possible for you to have caffeine in your body all day long, every day, for weeks on end. Let me say that again. It is possible for you to drink a cup of coffee in the morning, drink a cup of coffee in the evening, cycle this process morning and evening, and you are never without caffeine in your body. And your body is trying to sleep with the little amount of adenosine, sleep pressure, crushing down on your brain as it possibly can, while you are holding up those holes in those receptors with caffeine instead of letting that adenosine come. So if you are someone that has sleep issues, like the majority of us do, we really have to take a serious look at our caffeine consumption. Now, I'm not saying that you've got to completely knock out all caffeine. That's crazy talk. I mean, I choose to pick my battles, okay? So I'm not asking you to completely change your caffeine intake. I mean, completely eliminate your caffeine intake. But what I am asking you to do is look at the times that you take it. Look at the times that you prefer to go to sleep. Look at the times that you prefer to wake up. I mean, ideally, if you are sleeping with true sleep, then you shouldn't have to take anything to go to bed, and you shouldn't have to take anything when you wake up. You should wake up and feel awesome. And if you aren't, the most likely culprit is your caffeine intake throughout your days. And remember, it's not just coffee. There's a lot of other things that have caffeine in them, okay? If you like these, please subscribe below. We'll be coming out with more.